Those six things, God's presence is going to move. And tonight we're going to talk about one step further. Hit the next slide. And this is the thing we're going to talk about. Do you feel God's presence as strong when you're by yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
So some of you do. So what about others? Do you feel God's presence as strong as we had it on Sunday morning? Do you feel that strong by yourself?
Not
that
strong.
Yeah.
Like 24/7 or periodically.
When you get your prayer closet.
What about 24/7?
What do you do like by yourself? Like
I don't feel it.
like by yourself in the world with other people, or by yourself alone driving down the road?
Just by yourself. Every day, on a daily basis, all the time. Do you feel God's presence that strong?
Not
Not all the time, but when I'm by myself.
Like the whole first year when I had my iPod.
So we're talking about getting God's presence down here. And what I want to get at today is how to get God's presence in our personal life. Some of you guys say you feel it that strong. But most of you say you don't feel it that strong all the time. And I'll be honest with you, this message is for me because I don't feel it that strong all the time. So if we have His presence strong and thick in church on Sundays, here in youth on Wednesdays, that's where we're getting to, then why can't we have it strong all the time, wherever we go? Because God's God, He's there. So that's what I'm saying. There's only one way that we can do that, and that's what we're going to talk about in John chapter 15. Y'all there? Everybody? Get the next one. John chapter 15, verses 1 through 4. Say this right here. I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, He prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. So what's one word that keeps repeating itself in all that?
Remain.
Let it go. All right. So those red words that we're going to talk about tonight, we're going to get into some more stuff, and we're going to go through this whole passage. But hit the next slide, and we're going to talk about it. Jesus said that He is the true vine. Y'all know how to say that word?
I always know
How
it.
to say
No.
that word? Anyway, that's the Greek word for the word true in that passage. So Jesus told them something. Jesus is trying to communicate something to the people that He was writing to. He's trying to tell us something tonight, that Jesus is the true vine. He doesn't just say that Jesus is the vine. Jesus is a good vine. He's a cool vine. He might be a holy vine. He says that He's a true vine. And this is what that basically means. It says that which is not only in name and resemblance, but the real nature corresponding to the name in every respect. So basically what He's saying is that Jesus says that I am the true vine. He's not something that's just by name and resemblance. See, guys, we go down, you hear this down at the ranch sometimes. Whenever we was down there this winter, you heard them say that they didn't want you to be making the ramp a trend, going to get your ramp t-shirt, dressing like the praise band and all this stuff. They said that they didn't want you to just take this back and it be some kind of fashion style like the ramp design or whatever, and you just try to make yourself look like the ramp. Because that ain't what their purpose is. Their purpose is to get you to be closer to Jesus, not to be closer to the ramp. So the ramp is something that is by name and resemblance. But Jesus said, no, you need Him, not just the ramp. And it's the same thing with these guys. Actually, Jesus was talking to these disciples. He was talking about a whole religious system. We'll get into that maybe next week or something, I don't know. But he was saying that even with church, guys, we come to church, we come to a building, we come to youth group, we come to all this stuff that has a name. We're in the name of Christ, we're supposed to be Christians, and we have a resemblance of Jesus, hopefully, but we're not Him. So we got to have Him. He is the true vine. That's all it is to it. It says corresponding to the idea, signified by the name, real, true, and genuine. That's all there is. There ain't nothing else you can have but Jesus. It says that it's opposite from what is fictitious, counterfeit, imaginary, simulated, or pretended. And that's where Satan comes in. Satan tries to trick you. He tries to give you something that's counterfeit. So whenever God's calling for you to be intimate, He tries to give you sex. We've talked about this time and time again. And that's what it is. You got to have the real thing, intimacy with Jesus Christ, and that's going to help you in your areas where you need to be pure. So he tries to give you the counterfeit. And Jesus says, no, there ain't no other counterfeit. I am the true vine. There ain't nothing else. And he goes on and says it contrasts realities with the semblances opposite to what is imperfect, defective, frail, and uncertain. So that basically means that Jesus is perfect. He's everything that we need. He is eternal. He's not frail. He's strong. He's mighty to save, just like that song talks about. And he's certain. We can be certain that he's going to help us in everything that we need. So that's a picture of who Christ is. He's trying to give you an example. Hey, this is who you're worshiping. He is the true vine. It says that his father is the gardener. Some versions say that he's the vine dresser or whatever. Basically, that means that anybody ever seen a grapevine?
Grapes on it. Goes
Good
crazy.
observation. What?
It like goes crazy. Goes out of control.
Yeah, a vine, this vine that you're talking about here, this is very, very difficult to maintain this vine. If you don't maintain, if you're not in it and working with it and trying your best to help it each and every day, then it's just going to go crazy, and then you're going to end up not bearing fruit. So what Jesus is saying is that he's the true vine, we're the branches, and God the Father is the gardener. And he's got to maintain this thing daily. He's got to work with us daily and get us where we need to be. And he goes on and he says something about fruit. So does it bear fruit? Does it not bear fruit? All this. And basically what the fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:22. Somebody name them all. Anybody know?
Love, joy, happiness,
Patience, self-control.
self-control.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, goodness, and self-control. I think. I might miss one. But anyways, the fruit of the Spirit. So he's saying that he wants you to bear much fruit. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago in Sunday school. And everybody in the group in Sunday school said, man, we don't match up to that. The love that it talks about as being a fruit of the Spirit is not just you love somebody. It's unconditional, sacrificial. You're going to lay down your life for your enemies, not your friends. For your enemies type of love. So those people that you just picture in your head about the people that you can't stand right now, that you just would like to kill at school, this kind of love says, I'm going to go out of my way and help them, period. I'm not going to talk back to them. I'm not going to go run my mouth about it. That's the kind of love that Jesus is talking about. So and that goes on into the other stuff. So that's the fruit of the Spirit. That's what he wants to do. And with that character, that stuff that goes on inside of us, makes us a better person. The old dies, the new comes, and we become like Jesus. That character inside of us is going to produce other people because they're going to look at you and going to say, hey man, you're different. You're not like all those other people. You don't put me down that way. You don't run your mouth that way. I don't hear that stuff coming out of your mouth, whatever. So that's going to produce other people. And so the fruit that he's talking about is character as well as producing other like fruit. So because the grapevine produces grapes, like you said. It don't produce apples or oranges. So we got to produce the same fruit. And then it goes on, it says, if you don't produce any fruit, what's going to happen?
You'll be cut off.
What's that mean?
Removed from
So if I had a vine right here, this big huge grapevine growing all over the place, I come over here with the little snipper thing, whatever you call it, pruner, and I chop this vine off. And I hold it right here, and I have this vine right here, and I have the branch. Is that branch ever going to be able to get back into that vine?
No.
It ain't going to happen.
Well, here's it through.
Yeah, but it ain't going to grow.
We tape it to
Duct tape.
So basically what he's saying is that if you don't produce fruit, you're going to be cut off. I mean, gone. You will never go back into the vine. You won't be back joined to him. If you don't produce this fruit, if you don't have this godly character inside of your life and producing other people that serve Jesus and love Jesus, then you got some issues. You're in jeopardy of being cut off. And it goes on to say that whenever that branch gets cut, they get thrown into the fire and burned.
So we can't gain our branch back on the vine?
That's debatable. Anyways, that might be a whole other message. Then it goes on, he says, if you've got fruit, you'll be pruned. What does prune mean?
Kathairo.
so you go back bigger.
Not that one up there. What would y'all have said prune mean? Whenever you go to prune a bush, what do?
You
Make
cut
it
it
prune
out
nice.
nice.
But what do you do to the branches?
Cut it.
Cut them.
So
Go back bigger.
Save them.
So what's the deal? I mean, the first one's
You
cut
cut
off,
off the bad branches.
and then the other one's just
No.
pruned.
No, you prune it.
Yes,
Sir, you prune it.
Stop, isn't it?
That's
Prune
a
it.
prune.
Cut the edge so it
Not
goes back
prune.
better.
That's a
Just
prune.
say it out loud.
Cut out.
You prune it. cut it so it'll grow back bigger.
Cut
Kathainro.
it all the way out?
No, halfway, most way.
Alright.
Part of the way.
Basically, this word means, guys, the Greek word, anybody can say that one?
Kathainro.
I just said it 6 times.
It says prune right here, but it basically means, if you go on to read this, listen to what it says. 15:3, it says, hold on. No, 15:2. He cuts off every branch that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that you will be even more fruitful. Then in verse 3 it says, you are already clean because of the word that I've spoken to you. So there's a contradiction there. He says that it'll be pruned, and then he goes on and he says that it's already clean. So basically what this word means, whenever you look up the original text, it does mean pruned, but it also means to cleanse of all filth and impurity. So basically he says that if you don't bear any fruit, you're going to be cut off, done for, thrown into the fire is what it goes on to say. But if you got fruit, if you're bearing fruit, Jesus is going to come in and he's going to cleanse you. He's going to make you, cleanse you of all filth. He's going to make you pure so that you'll continue and produce even more fruit. So that's what it's talking about. Go on to the next.
Oh.
And then the rest of that verse says that Jesus was talking to his disciples. He says, you're already clean because of the word that I've spoken to you. So God's word helps us to be clean in our lives. So how many of you have been in the word daily, every day this week?
Oh.
So we had 3 that possibly was close. Right. I'll be honest with you. This week has sucked for me. And this is why God brought me to this passage, because he's been kicking my butt all week. He's like, what are you doing? Why are you so sticking busy? And just calling me over and over again. So I'm telling you, just preaching to me too. So he's saying that these guys were already clean because of the word that he's spoken to them. You break that clean word down into the definitions. I know this is getting kind of technical, but this is what I'm trying to say. Physically, it means that you're purified by fire, like a vine cleansed by pruning and fitted to bear fruit. So basically what he's saying is that if you get in God's word daily, that you'll be cleansed enough to where you're ready to bear fruit. God can use you to bear fruit. You'll start building that character. Whenever you start firing your mouth off at somebody, you get in God's word, you find out, hey, it says be angry and sin not. It says to not be hot-headed and easily angered and provoked and all that stuff. So it's going to start producing that godly character in you. And you're going to start bearing fruit. So that's what the word will do. In a Levitical sense, anybody know what a Levitical sense is?
Leviticus.
No.
Leviticus.
Law.
The law. And the dudes named Levites from the tribe of Levi were priests. So this is like the priestly sense. So this is talking about the temple. It means that the use of which is not forbidden imparts no uncleanness. Everything that they used in the temple, they had bowls, cups, knives, forks, spoons, whatever. They had altars, they had lavers, they had all kinds of stuff in the temple that they used for their ceremonies. And all this stuff had to be cleaned and purified so that it would be willing to be, or be able to be used in a holy ceremony. It had to be holy, it had to be set apart. So what he's saying is that whenever you get in God's word, he'll make you clean, he'll make you to be able to be used in his service. So that God can use you the way that he used those vessels in the Old Testament. So that's what he's saying. And ethically is the one that I like the best, because it says that you're free from corrupt desire. How many of you guys have desires that are not of Jesus?
Honestly.
Well, we
I'll
all.
be honest.
Yeah.
I like it.
All
But
of it.
this says these guys are already clean, free from corrupt desire. Is that possible?
Think not.
Well, the word says it, so it gotta be.
I mean, everything that comes up that your flesh desires is saying these guys are clean from it because they were in God's word, because of the word that was spoken to them.